Hi, everyone. It's great to talk to you on this sunny Wednesday day in May. My name's Donnie. I'm a GPM here at Accurx. I've been here for just under 4 years, and I've been working on a ton of our products. Admittedly, I've been spending a lot of my past 4 years in the trust space, but I'm going to be talking a lot today around our new inbox, which is built for all care settings. And so over the last year, I've been really close to GPs and spending a lot of time in practices. Hopefully, I've seen some of you at your practices, and hopefully, some of you will invite me soon to have a visit and show just what's what about our new inbox. So, we've got some time today to go over this new inbox that some of you may have. Most of you will get within the next couple of weeks. It's a real big passion project at Accurx, something that we've been hoping to do and trying to do for years, and it will help take us into the next level of really helping our healthcare providers to deliver care better. Um, so for today, I'm going to talk a little bit about why we needed to change the status quo. We know we've had a lot of positive feedback about our previous inbox, and a lot of you will wonder why we even tried to change it. I'm going to talk about what precipitated that change and where we hope our new change to take us to in the future. We're going to go for a big tour of the inbox, get into the nooks and crannies of everything that we've built. And then Dr. Dave Triska is going to join and talk about how their practice has experienced the new unified inbox over the past couple of weeks before we finally open up for a Q&A where we can get into the nitty gritty of all of your questions and concerns. So getting into why we wanted to change this, there's three main reasons. In the middle of last year, we realized that in order to continue our track record of really being the go-to communication provider for healthcare, we needed to take a look at some of the reasons that was stopping us from continuing to deliver and iterate value and usability at pace. So we knew we needed a world where we could improve performance, deliver new features to that inbox quickly, and unify what the experience would be across care settings. Historically, we've always had different types of tools for different types of care settings, which is why if you GPs or people who work in GPs have any colleagues who work outside of primary care, you'll notice that they typically interact with Accurx through a browser instead of a desktop toolbar. The desktop toolbar is a really huge win for us, and it helps us integrate with your care setting, or sorry, your EMR, your EPR, and that connection is really what powers Accurx and the overall inbox. With the different technologies, it means that we don't have that connection everywhere, but it also meant that we built things slightly different in different care settings. The toolbar was a really great way for us to get into GP practices, and we built our inbox in the same technology that the inbox or the toolbar was built in. This was kind of something that got slow over time, and it was harder to iterate and improve on. And when we knew that it was slow for our users, we couldn't jump and fix on changes as quickly as we knew that we really needed to. And so we moved towards delivering a new type of technology with our inbox that kind of can help us get to this improved performance. And so we know that it's quite easy for users to jump in and navigate throughout those different tools that we have, or at least we strive for it to be. But we want it to be just as easy for us to improve and iterate on them. And so alongside like creating this new web technology that we can power our inbox for all of our users, it also allows us to iterate on those things much quicker. So we can build as soon as we hear feedback from our users, get those out quicker. We don't have that same lag that we would have with our older technology. This new technology also speaks faster to like both the integrations that you have with your EMR and any future integrations that we might introduce in the future. Lastly, just around this unifying different care settings, we knew that like as we grow Accurx into different types of markets, we've got a great showing here from GPs, but we're also trying to get that same level of communicative care into secondary care, tertiary care, ambulances, pharmacies. And we knew that we wanted everyone to have the same kind of experience whenever they do jump on and use the inbox. And so we tried to build one that could work across all care settings, and we succeeded. That's what the unified inbox is. So while you'll see some differences in terms of like how we've moved from Flores or the terminology for Flores to questionnaires, or patient triage, sometimes will be referred to as patient initiated. That's just because we're on this journey of of using generic language that's specific enough to work across all care settings. But for people who do work across different care systems, so primary or secondary, they have that same repeatable experience every time they jump into it, something new. Just wanted to reiterate here that like everything we build is really built with GPs at the heart of every decision. GPs are the way that we were able to develop such a product, and we know that we need to build things that continue to work and thrive with the GP community. Every time that we spend with users is a net positive. I love going to practice visits. I love going to trust visits, but just getting that hands-on experience and seeing how users interact with our products is such a win for us, and we're so grateful for the community that we've been able to build, and in turn, like turn those insights into products that we can build alongside our users. For this new inbox, before we actually got into building it, we sort of used the years and years of user feedback sessions that we've had, probably hundreds, if not into the early thousands of user feedback sessions just based on our inbox across care settings, anecdotally, that we've had stored and on backlogs throughout the entire organization. And we knew that there were things that we needed to address in any shape of like what a new inbox might look like. Specifically for our unified inbox project, before we got into building, we had our user research team, design team, and product team run 82 different design tests on different ways that we could approach that migration from our old world into the new world. And then when we did have a version of the inbox that was ready to kind of test and run with our users, we visited 7 different GPs across the country to make sure that the inbox was meeting their needs. So I'm not going to waste any more time. We'll get right into it now. I'm going to stop sharing this and start sharing my desktop here. So I'm going to run through a tour now. If you have questions, just knock them down into the Q&A. We've got our wonderful support team on there who will either be responding in line, but otherwise we'll save them for after the demo is done and we hear from Dr. Dave Triska. Aside from that, yeah, just stay tuned and listen. So I popped right into the inbox here. Hopefully it is not too disfamiliar from what your current experience is. Ooh, we don't want Accurx. We want the inbox, yes. So yeah, popping into your inbox, you should see the biggest change we've got is a color change. We've gone from the blue to our familiar Accurx green, mostly in line with just our branding, but also to keep consistency across all care settings. We've tried to keep the overall look and feel of the inbox as close as we possibly could to the existing one, primarily because we knew it wasn't broken. There was some enhancements we could make to how you kind of navigate and get around the inbox. But on the whole, we knew that what we had worked, and we just needed to get it into a world where we could iterate it on it more quickly and alongside our users. So jumping into your inbox, you can see that you've got a filter right here for sent and scheduled. And then coming into your secondary navigation, or your secondary nav, we like to call it, just your inbox with a list of all of your open and done messages. Some of the highlights here is like we've really kind of tried to embrace color. We're trying to display and use color to say, okay, when I find myself in a conversation thread, it's quite easily that all the white messages are from healthcare providers, blue messages are from patients. If there's any error messages, those will show up in red. Notes show up in yellows, we'll get to in just a sec. So I encourage you all to just like kind of keep an eye on what colors mean what where, because we're striving for consistency in all of those flows. In this pane also, we've got this new little toolbar, which should help workflows get faster. So when you know you've read messages and they're finished, you don't have to jump into each and every message in order to mark them as done. If you mark them as done, they kind of disappear and slide right into that done box. Green thing comes up, and then after a couple seconds, it'll go into the done folder. If you go into something that's marking as urgent, it'll get a flag and drive straight up to the top of your inbox. And then some of you guys might have noticed this new functionality, mark unread. And that's for messages that you may have read it in quickness and you just want to be like, oh, actually, I didn't really read that. I didn't need to read that. I want to come back to that later. Marking that as unread will just give that red tick for you to make sure that you come back to it. Unlike done and flagged, Things that you mark as unread will only be marked as unread for you, the user, and not for everyone in that practice. We've tried to make that clear just with that little toast feedback that comes up. Jumping on over into like the main stage here, you've got your patient heading with the name and details of that patient, who that is assigned to, which we've moved up just to kind of sit on top of the conversation to help indicate ownership. Those tags are also available in the conversation thread themselves. So the ability to mark things as done, urgent, and unread. You've got the button that will open that patient in EMIS in the background. And then you've got the thread. Let's come into a different message here. So for example, these are the messages that I've sent. I sent this from my web browser, and so it hasn't automatically saved to the record. If I wanted to save that to the record, just going on and clicking through there, we'll do that in the background. And you can continue to work while that's thinking in the background. You don't have to wait for that save to record to come up as green. It will continue working no matter where you go into the product. Coming into a reply, for example, say this patient has received and sent a picture. You can open the picture, see what it is, and then you've got this. Sorry, just going to move my toolbar, which is in the way. You've got this screen here, which allows the user to like reply to messages. Nothing different, nothing changed here. We have streamlined and modernized the look and feel of this pane, and it should be a lot easier for you to jump into exactly what you want to do. But being able to reply to messages is all the same. Thanks. Oops. Spell right. Thanks so much for your response. We will follow up. You have the ability to jump into templates and questionnaires. This is a slight differentiation from what we had before, where this opens up in something that we're calling a quick view panel. As opposed to like a net new window. But you can go through all of the templates and questionnaires filtered both by either templates, questionnaires, or all. And then if you do look for all, then you'll have the primary filters primary questionnaires or templates that have been created in your workspace versus the general Accurx ones. Bacon is good for me is definitely not that true, but I like it. If you do want to preview those, you can open up a new window, but you can also just select them and continue them in. Sending messages works just the same. You can attach messages through here, whether from NHS Advice or from the desktop, but you can't do so if you've already got a link included. And we're just very clear with that up front. Hopefully that's something that we'll be able to change now in this new world, but we wanted to be able to get something out to you before we make all the best changes. Where we're going to is a world where we hope to be able to allow users to update multiple attachments, multiple NHS links, multiple booking invites, all in that one message. So our users don't have to go in and send a separate message every time something comes up. If you wanted to attach, it's there. NHS.UK advice, the browsers is just the same as it should have been, clicking right through the button, and that will go with it. The ability to send scheduled messages is in there. This is a cool one that our team worked on. Yeah, we heard from feedback that a lot of users just didn't find the value in knowing specifically what date a patient had to come in. So we sought to include like just a recall function that could be easily understood. So a doctor in the middle of a busy clinic might not know exactly, cool, I need to see you in 3 weeks. What day is that? Okay, carry the one, no. But you can just now kind of go in and just type in 3 weeks, and that actual date will pop straight up there and share when that message is going to be sent. If you confirm that date and time and then send it off, and you'll see there it goes. Some of the other stuff we'll get into just to specify, but I'll leave lots of time for questions. Our unassigned or patient triage flows, we've made it more clear that where messages that are either medical or admin patient triage requests flow into. And if those patients aren't found, we've got our spanking new search for patient flow, where a user can go on in, enter the patient's name, details, and just run through that entire matching flow to get specific patients tied to all messages that sit within your inbox. Aside from that, I'll leave time and this open when we come back into questions so we can explore a little bit more of what everyone might want to see specifically or learn more about. Yeah, I'll just talk a little bit about what's coming still. We've got a couple more features that still need to go into the product before we're 100% done and can move everyone over from the existing desktop inbox. What the team actually, Anna's on the call. She's a brand new PM who's just joined Accurx, and she'll be leading our previous inbox team into the final stage here of this almost 1 year inbox product. And the kind of outstanding user features that we're looking at is that currently viewing conversations so that users can just get that insight on, oh, actually this incoming patient triage request, XYZ colleague is working on it, so I don't need to touch it. When you jump into assigning messages, you'll be able to assign them based on who's online and offline, which we know we already do in our existing inbox. Privacy mode coming back. Not everyone uses that, but something that we want to make sure is in there before we deprecate the old inbox. And in Self-Book, the ability to send a Self-Book link for a very specific clinician, which is super cool. And that's just really the beginning. This whole year we've spent just trying to get the status quo inbox, albeit in a refreshed and more performant version, out into the world. Now, once we end our stage 3 inbox project towards the end of next month, we'll be able to start doing iterations on some of the other stuff that we know people are thinking about, like the ability to sort better or filter better, or just better control over like where messages live and flow and how users interact with that inbox. I heard some rumbling in the background. Dave, are you on? Awesome.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Yeah, nice to join you. Sorry, we're just trying to get the video sorted, but I can certainly talk while we're getting the video worked out.
Cool. How has the practice found the first couple of days with the unified inbox?
Yeah, so we've had a really great time with it, and I think the major speed improvements have been phenomenal. So firstly, any slowdown's gone, actually to the point where we're now actually seeing other bits of the system working properly. So EMIS, for example, seems to have sped up, which I think is an unintended benefit, but very welcome one. And the flow through it is just so much better. So the first day we were using it, 3 of us triaging on a Monday, and just 3 extremely happy people that the speed we could manage requests was much improved, and you've already implemented most of the features that were lacking in that early beta version. So just can't wait to get hold of everything going full belt.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, part of some of our back-end work alongside this project was really trying to understand this Monday morning problem that I think affected your practice alongside many others, where like the barrage of requests that kind of flow into a practice the first thing after a weekend just meant that there was a lot more work for practices in the system to take on. And so my technical partner, Matt, and I kicked off this like Monday morning problem, which we finally sorted by, I think we ended up deleting over 3 billion lines of code, which I don't really understand code that well. So I asked Matt to kind of help understand what that meant. And it was like taking 7,000 bowls of rice one by one with like with chopsticks and like throwing them out. So we just had to find a way to do that quickly, but I digress. Cool. Yeah, I'll hand over to you and give us a little bit more insight on the unified inbox and what specific features you enjoyed.
Yeah, for sure. So I think first of all, I know everyone has a slight bump as they go into sort of a new layout, but actually a lot of the layout makes sense to me. And I think for new users, because we've onboarded a few new people while this has happened, it's much more intuitive if you've never used it, where things are going to be. So I think that's going to be easy going forward. But the performance by far was the biggest thing. And there's something that goes hand in hand with that, which I suspect lies in the coding level, which is your ability to change things seems to have got a lot quicker. I think that's intentional. So when there's changes to the back end of it happening, it doesn't seem to be the enormous lag that happened previously, I think, due to the architecture. But, you know, for all intents and purposes now, this is a completely seamless inbox experience in terms of being able to do things at the speed. I mean, basically, from my point of view, it's as if I'm on my iPhone in terms of the speed and fluency of it. So previously, with the historic architecture, that wasn't the case. The new team members who've used it have just said instantly, gosh, yeah, I've got this. They've never actually used Accurx before. So it's been easy for them to pick up. Yeah, I don't know. So I think some of the ways that things were structured previously were not always intuitive. We all got used to it. So the change was like, as an old user was, oh, hang on a sec, where's X, Y, Z? But I think from a new starting point, the naming of it is much more natural. The location of things is much more natural. And, you know, even this morning, there've been things that have been implemented to bring it up to the standard it was in terms of both the glories, the templates and things all being consulted within the inbox. So I just can't, I think the next bits in terms of what you planned over the next 3 months, the stuff that was previewed at the user conference in terms of all the custom bits, it's just makes so much sense to change to this. I'm really impressed with it.
Oh, that is exactly what we're excited about for sure. What's coming is kind of the whole reason we were able to maintain such energy and vigor on this like year-long project, because we knew we just needed to get like this framework out before we could start delivering the next world, which is really cool. Aside from like the positive and the fun stuff that's coming through, is there anything that we could address in the unified inbox, the inbox as a whole, that you're looking to do, and something that we could look at now that we've got the ability to iterate faster?
The things that you're just working on at the moment. So as I say, there was an early version we've had access to. So when we didn't have the booking links initially and so on, they're already there now. So, you know, got that. And I think in terms of all the workflow bits that you've identified previously, so being able to have filters that you custom assign, being able to label things differently, you know, the bits we've spoken about at conference level. So that's the bit that I think for those people who are doing, you know, there's someone on the users group this morning, really big triage practice. I think 800 requests on a Monday, which is like pretty epic. So I think that's understandable why those bits are going to make multi-user input much easier. And I don't think they would have been possible with the way things were built previously. So I appreciate there's a bit of a change period, but it is change for the better.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Thank you so much. Any last thoughts?
Keep going. Keep going. When do we get our AI? I'm just kidding.
I mean, that is one thing. So like now that we're kind of spinning down on the actual unified inbox project, right before this meeting, I popped down from like our understanding of how we reimagine our data model to help take us into the future, where we're going to have things like labels in place, which will help to suggest intelligent content to our users and help guide that like entire workflow from start to finish. So it is coming. It's just a slower process than I think we'd like it to be, but it's exciting. Thanks so much, Dave. Awesome. So yeah, just before we roll into questions and answers, and anyone who needs to jump back, feel free to do so, but we'll be on for as long as we have questions to answer. The thing I want to mention here is just to keep an eye on our community group. So Mahir, who is the host of this call, has just kind of stepped into a new role at Accurx as our community manager, and he is doing a bang-up job. Our community and our Facebook is going to be really growing over the next couple of weeks and into the rest of the year. And it's really going to be the first stop shop for any kind of questions, networking, growth hacks that you might want to do. So take a screenshot of this, or take user's phone to jump through the QR code to join into our Facebook group, or just Google Accurx in Facebook, because I really promise that it is going to be a worthwhile decision. But yeah, let's move into questions now. What do we got? I've got one here about keyboard shortcuts for marking things as done. And is that something that might be coming? We do have some users who are looking into like how they gamify using Stream Decks to like program in hotkeys and like automation. It's probably something that we look to solving from a community lens to start with, but once we finish our unified inbox project, we'll definitely look into it, because it's a huge thing that we hear constantly from users across the board. It's not something that's tied into this unified inbox launch, but it is one of those pieces of fast follow that we can do as soon as this inbox is rolled out to everyone. I've got another question here about, is there any improvements being made to how we assign messages from the inbox? It would be much easier to have the admin team and doctor's team appear at the top of the list, and as this is the most frequently used and they currently sit at the bottom of the list. Yes, and it's something that we're also super passionate about. The overall navigation of the inbox was something that we couldn't spend as much time as we wanted to in this unified inbox project in favor of just getting a version out to all of our users. If you when you're playing around in there, you will know that we have made it clearer to like open and just have a view of your admin and medical um, filters on that unassigned or patient triage view. But filtering and sorting is something we're going to be looking at once we've rolled out the initial version of the new inbox. We will be rolling out, hopefully, with a version of sorting your messages from oldest to newest and vice versa. But anything more will require a lot more work from us. I've got a question here about will we be able to triage? Oh yeah, triage the messages received by ascending or descending. This is actually something that is in scope for this cycle that we're looking at. So just being able to swap that order of when messages have come in, oldest to newest or newest to oldest. Someone has asked a question about when we're going to be seeing these changes. This is a big change for us, not only for us as Accurx, but also for all of the users, as you guys have seen from the demo. It's going to be a gradual rollout because we want to make sure that we address problems as they come up, if there are any problems, instead of just kind of rolling it out to everyone and then having to solve things at pace and admittedly somewhat sloppily. We are going to be rolling out to the remaining of our pilot practices over the next few weeks, probably the next 2 weeks, actually. We've got 850 or so total practices who will receive this before we start rolling it out more broadly. And then after that, we'll be rolling out ICB by ICB. So stay tuned, but everything should be ticked away by hopefully early July, end of June, early July. Next up, we've got, is there a way to record the outcome? Yes, there is outcome recording. If you don't have it switched on for your practice, please get in touch with support and we can enable it for you. The one thing is, unless you have patient triage enabled, you won't have outcome recording enabled just yet. And honestly, it won't go anywhere right now until we turn those outcome recordings outside of patient request, patient triage type messages into a dashboard. It is there, and you can record things, just need to get in touch with support first. We've got another question here. Are there any improvements on outcome measure? For example, how many requests are signposted by whom and how may this be dealt with GPs? The reporting dashboard is coming alongside this kind of work, and we'll be giving more rich data around like that kind of inbound demand and what that means for your practice overall. It'll be broken down into channels, fragments, self-books, questionnaire response rates, what type of outcomes happen to each message. So that reporting piece is coming kind of outside of a unified inbox project, but being rolled out from a different team kind of at the same time. New question here. Is it possible to have a default time to send messages when sending messages individually? There isn't a way to set like a default message for you as an individual user right now, but we do set default times to 7 p.m. to today at 7 p.m. and tomorrow at 8 a.m. Just by default, and you can click that custom date and time if you want to change that after. And so, yeah, I think we'll wrap it up now, but for any outstanding questions, just let us know through email channels, through that Facebook community. You can email me directly, donnie.belfont@accurx.com. I love getting in touch with users. I love hearing what we can do next. And I love visiting practices. So even if you want a little bit more of an in-depth tour, let us know and we can sort something out. But thanks everyone for joining. Don't forget to join the FB or the Facebook community, and have a great Wednesday. Cheers.